Let's capture the sky, folks. So, what we got here? Beautiful. And this is just a simulation. Software. Looking north. Why are we looking north? Hyperborea to the north. Said with the tree of life and all sorts. And to the north. Hyperborea. Now I'll get into the word Hyperborea in a moment. Star there, Vega. We'll get into that too. But I'm looking from Edinburgh. On the spinal albion, looking north. And then let's have a proper look. What's so important about north? Ah, the Great Bear. There's a dragon. We'll get into what the dragon is soon. But the Great Bear. What do we know about the Great Bear? Arthur, Arthur, the Great Bear, and his bear cub, his son. Our father and son. The Great Bear. Why to the Hindu was the Great Bear asterism so important? And why was it so to the Nazis? Because it is the centre of the ark. And what I hope to do is to show the entire story of the scriptures from the beginning of all things, when we had the crown of life, just as it says in the Hebrew scriptures, which are coded language, phonetic language. But we see here a warrior. Someone doesn't look quite ready for battle, but he has a spear and a scythe. Scythian. He's a Scythian. There's a scythe in his hand, yeah. And we have the word ark. Taurus. Let's follow this type soldier. The Scythian with a crown. He has a scythe. Doesn't Russia, well, it used to have this. It has a bear now, isn't it? But anyway. But notice the dogs, Canaan. These are important as well. I need to look into these. It's probably something to do with the fascia. Yeah, the binding. Even the binding of Itzhak. I don't know. Yes, possibly. There's more to it. But you'll notice that this is the ark. Taurus. I always say to people, language. In fact, the Scottish vernacular, the Scottish accent, not so much the English, but the Scottish, is a great way to decode. And this is another way I'll prove that the land of Canaan is spread throughout the world, but it's because Canada is part of Canaan. The world was one landmass before. But here we have in the canopy of heaven the story of the Bible, because this is the ark. Taurus. We become tourists when we travel, when we move from one place to another. Notice the animals in the ark. And the ark comes over and it comes to Taurus, Aries. So there's the ark Taurus with the Great Bear right in there. This is the ark Taurus, and the Torah, the law. So the Torah, ark. This is the land of Canaan. This is historically the sons of Isaac, the Scythians, the sons of Isaac, Yitzhak, Isaac. Here they're here, and at Taurus, right on his groin, unfortunately, but what comes from there. And from that descends the land of Canaan. And the great story of Arthur over Britain, or Europe I should say, is very significant, because that's what the story of Arthur is. I'm not saying that there wasn't Arthurs, there were two Arthurs in the past that I know of and other people have spoke about, but how many Arthurs would there have been? How many Johns, how many Peters, how many Craigs, how many Barrys? People named their children, and some of them were very prominent kings, heroes, prophets, visionaries, druids of these lands, priests, gurus, shamans, seamen. They navigated the Great Sea, the Ark of the Covenant, Noah's Ark. Noah means rest. Noah, to Noah, to Noah, to Noah the Ark. So it all begins here with our father, Arthur the Great Bear, and the sun, which clearly represents the sun passing through Canaan, which we see here. Many people would have seen Rob Skiba's videos on 9/11. It's not just Rob Skiba's, but the 9/11 attacks were based in Virgo, the Virgin giving birth to the child. The sun and moon being on her, she'd be clothed in the sun and moon. Well, on September 2001, the sun and the moon were clothed in her, and we were in Gemini and Taurus on 9/11. And some say that that is the birth in Canaan, the marriage, and then the birth, or the marriage is the story we first hear of, but we've got the birth of, in the land of Canaan. So what I'm trying to determine here is, which I can, I'll show where the land of Canaan is. But anyway, back up again, this is the ark, all the way around, and you'll notice just outside the ark you have these detestable, there's the crown, the corona. You have these detestable creatures. I'll get to signals as well, and that's the important part, but there's a spiral journey. But you see the dragon and the dog, the gods, the small god, the little god. This is the Draco bloodline. Sits over Balmoral. Well, it doesn't actually, it sits at Midmar Kirk, and the tail comes down here, and the little god, Bar Kokhba, which is the revolt in the Jewish legend. You know, he was the false Messiah, or the Messiah who came, and it's from this house, the Draco bloodline, the great dragon, the great serpent that it talks about. And Bar Kokhba, you need to look up, it's the Jewish Revolution or the Bar Kokhba revolt, AD 135 around about, I think it was. We think we've been told it was in the Middle East, but you know, it's here, the Bar Kokhba, bar. I'll go into the word bar on at later times in the study. The word bar is a legal system, and the Ark of the Covenant is a legal system over humanity. The Ark from the Scythians, the sons of Isaac, the Barosh. The word here, the very first word in the Bible is Berosh bara, and it means with the head. Now I know said earlier on that Russia, you know, Russia, the land was one landmass, but Russia as we understand today, there's a lot of people talking about Russia being Tartaria, and the simple reason for that is Tartar is the Taurus field, yeah, Tartaria. So the Taurus field is Arthur, the Ark, Taurus, or Taurus. So that's why ancient Russia is being branded as Tartaria. Well, really Tartaria is just nonsense. It's not a special civilization or a people group. It's referring to the Taurus fields, and this is the Taurus field from the Ark of the Covenant the law all the way over to the Taurus. And I'll get to Taurus. Taurus actually sits over Glasgow. So, and the Lamb, or the first god that was created, at the moment is sitting over Edinburgh, Uranus, the Lamb. So that's, you know, all within the arc of the covenant. And the word covenant in Hebrew is berit, like a Brit Milah, like a circumcision, Brit, Berit, B-R-I-T, and that word is Brit. But we'll go back to Arthur, our Arthur, and Arcturus, and the Scythians, the warriors, who came here to the land of Isaac in Canaan and settled. To settle what? Well, they brought the law, justice. Yeah. Again, outside the ark. Outside the ark you have creatures and all sorts. Also very important, I'll point out here, but I'll go back to this. This is Ophiuchus, the strong man, who I think it was around about 212, 213, it was first recognised as there are many asterisms up there. We'll have a look at the Argos Navi, which is very important. The Argos Navi is an asterism. You have constellations and you have asterisms. And this is an asterism, I believe. It's 2012, 2013, it started appearing on our maps. It's always been in this software because I've used this forever, but it never had a proper recognition. But it's a strong man. In the New Testament it talks about a strong man comes in, you know, bind him. You know, somebody breaks into your house, you know. So it's all very, you know, standing over the ark and over justice. And this is not just about the stars, this is the legal system. So Mary, this is the ark and the water, and you'll notice that underneath I was talking about the Argus Navi, everything else is water. You know, you've got the woman, the lion, and then you start to get crab, this water creatures coming up through a snake, but everything else is implements for measuring distance, travel, tourists, and touring on the high seas. And this is where the law comes in. So you see all the measurements and here coming from where? They come from a great snake that sits in the waters, or you know, the creatures of the deep, you know, the serpents of the deep, which kind of points to the idea that the underworld, you know, Tartarus. This is why you know, Russia, the whole Tartaria is not right, because people have been saying this for years. It's not just me, but Tartarus is the underworld in the Greek word. So Tartaria, it's underworld, under the Taurus field, and this is where we start to get a legal trap sort of thing, because this is known as the Argos Navi. But I'm not going to go there with that at this moment. What I want to do is we'll tell the story briefly from the Great Bear, our father, and the avenue that she, the creator. It's the creator is an almighty force, neither having physical form or anything, but the language itself in Hebrew, which I'm familiar with, is a masculine. I mean, Arthur, I don't know, but anyway. Right, so there's a pathway through the heavens, and it begins with maritime, not being married, but maritime, not documented, but maritime. And this is Mary, the Virgin Mary, Virgo, okay? And you know, the 9/11 thing, sun and moon at our feet, being born in the territory of Judah, the Lion of Judah. You know, some say that this little bear actually looks like a lion cub rather than the bear cub. It could be the lion, alliance, and this is also Leonid's, meteor showers and stuff like that. There's loads here, but we come to Cancer. And what's important about Cancer is Cancer never used to always be the crab. At one time, although we talked about the underworld, the crab, it changes here, but it wasn't always. Before it was the scarab beetle, so the scarab beetle was death and resurrection, rebirth. Think of something changing, something renewing, something being renewed and replenished, and this is where the whole the Christ oil comes up back in the brain. But we'll go to this later because we're looking at the stars at the moment and not just anatomy. So Cancer is the 69 symbol, and the 69 symbol is death and resurrection, yin and yang. The 69 above the Masonic pillars, and the Masonic pillars are the two pillars, Joachim and Boaz, Gemini, your duality, your plurality, if that's the word. And so it's a pathway in the arc through the maritime. It's the marriage ceremony of the Lamb. And when I say the Lamb, I mean the ewe, because the word Rachel, who gives birth to the twins, Rachel who gives birth to the twins, Esau, who was a mighty hunter before Orion. So Esau and Jacob, Castor and Pollux. The legends are in the Greek stories and the Egyptian stories, just different names and that. But so you could Cancer, the two pillars of Freemasonry, and the arch, again, arc of Freemasonry, the arc. So this is the pathway through life, facing your duality, facing your demons, your good and your bad, and it all happens here in Orion's belt. Every civilization, the pyramids at Giza, although I believe that to one extent they are faked, they all align to Orion's belt, and this is Orion's belt, the mighty hunter. So there's Esau, the twins, Esau and Yaakov laughed. Jacob, the one who grabbed hold of the heel, the usurper, Yaakov. The Union Jack, the Jacob. So, and there's the Union, the unique horn, which is the Christ oil rising up. So, sorry about that. So we have, we have the line of Judah, the alliance of maritime measurements, law. There's your citizenship. They want you stuck in your citizenship. Now, how do you get past the citizenship? It's also all written in the stars. This is, this is the legal system. The water, maritime. You're lost at sea. You're not under the Ark of the Covenant. You have let go of the commands. You've not looked. What do I mean by the commands? The commands were Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. See, I have set for you signs and seasons. They shall be as omens. They shall be as your seasons and your calendars. So what is that? I've set the sun, the moon and the stars, and this is the ark. Religions like Christianity and Judaism and just a lot of other, Hinduism looks at the stars, but it's deep stories, it's esoteric stories, But this is the story of the Bible and the Gospel. The Gospel. Our ancestors knew this stuff, and they never wrote it down. But this is the pathway of the soul. We get weighed, and we walk through life. This unicorn is the Christ in us, coming out of the captivity of Cyrus in exile in Babylon, which is the dog star. This is actually over Aaron, and then this is Lepus, So we make this journey, the unique horn of Christ rising up. Why is it rising up here? Because you see it's coming up onto Orion's, Esau was a mighty hunter before Orion. Jacob, he's a peaceful man. And Orion, it's Nimrod as well. And he slaughtered the cub, the lion cub actually. And you have the snakes and ladders. And if you look closely, this is down the rabbit hole, you see. So if we are not aware of where the tree of life sits and where the root of Jesse, or the rod of Jesse, or the scepter, if we don't know where the scepter is, we can be deceived as we travel through where? Through our day-to-day, every day as we travel, the Messiah or Jesus or Yeshua or Seamus or whatever his name is, Seamus, he told us you must take up your cross daily. This is the journey. You come through your Christ, the unique horn of plenty, and you come through Taurus, battering through Orion, which is the point where the Egyptians and all other civilizations put the pyramids and lined up anything. It's all on Orion's belt. But Orion's belt isn't the end of the journey. And, as Andrew Collins said, that, it carries on. And that carries on through the bowl, the bull. This is the end of the Taurus field, and the animals are all contained within the ark, and then you come into nasty creatures again. But here is the salvation, put on the full armour of God. We're battling these creatures that are outside. Sorry about that. We're battling these creatures that are outside. But anyway, back to this is the Christ oil rising into you. And where does it reach to? The Christ oil, the unique horn, is coming into the seven sisters in the regal. The seven sisters are the Pleiades. Where are they? The Pleiades are up there somewhere. Yeah, in Taurus there. Is it? Yeah. Oh, I've never went that thing. I think that's the Pleiades, yeah. Aldebaran is where we get the. There's maybe too much. The Aldebaran is the old word for Baran. The Baron, if you've seen some of my posts, it's the elder Baron, or the alders, where we get the word elders. The judgment sits between the two horns of Taurus, and this actually is over Glasgow. This is Ayrshire. This is the waters between Ireland and such. But it's actually flipped. Well, I'll go to that. Some people believe that it's how we look at above us, it's actually flipped the opposite way. But this is nevertheless the journey, the unique horn. You're the unique horn with the Christ oil in you, and you come through, battling through the bow, because the regal, you're not registered anymore. You've crushed the heel. Jacob, again, this is the story of Jacob. He shall crush the heel of the serpent, the regal, the lupus, down the rabbit hole. I'll get to it. So you either crush the Regis, because this is what he is. He's the regent. Beetlejuice. You bring back the dead. Maybe I shouldn't say it 3 times, should I? I don't know. But anyway, that is actually a lupus. It's a hare. But a hare is, it's all words. A hare is an heir to the throne, an heir. And here's Cyrus, which represents Anubis, Canaan, the Anubis of Canaan. And this is all ties to the story of Hathor, taking you through, in the Egyptian story, she takes you through the underworld in a safe passage in a vessel, or through a boat. You go over, in the Egyptian, you reach the dog star Cyrus. This is for them really, for these things. And then they go back down and regurgitate souls. What do I mean by that? Well, if you don't take hold of your name, your legal identity, your Yaakov, if you don't grab hold of the heel, your register, what you are. You go back down, snakes and ladders, back down. Now I'm not saying it's reincarnation, but what is happening, I believe, is these fallen, which were archangels, these fallen creatures that rule in the heavens, the great beasts. Oh, something like that. The great dragon, the great beast. Yeah, and especially from the Draco. If we don't rule over the beasts, Cetus. This is Edinburgh. This is Cetus sits off the coast of Edinburgh. I've got maps there. If anybody's seen the maps, and maps are there. But this is why we know this is Edinburgh, because there's maps. There's just not mine. There's plenty of maps out there. I've done many maps, but so this is the journey. We go through Aldebaran, and Aldebaran is where we get the word elder or baron, and also the word bar, as in for the law. The elder, older, wiser, I suppose. You come through the horns, which the horns would probably represent the cherubim or the cherubim. The angels with the, you go through through there to be judged on the altar, the horns of the altar. It's not the altar actually, because the altar's further up. But most Glasgow, this sits over Glasgow, and I believe Aldebaran to be, I may be completely wrong, but I think it is the Stone of Destiny, the barren rock, the rock. But the whole of Britain, the whole, there's a great part of the world, Canaan, which is the foundation stone, the keystone, the cornerstone. So the journey we take is through the horns of Taurus and up into Aries. And Uranus is the first god. We avoid the beast, Cetus. This is the great beast Cetus, because Cetus then takes us back down into, to be regurgitated again through time, measured and hung, quartered, and put back into the citizenship, regurgitated in the canopus. So, and actually this bit here is called the poop deck. I keep forgetting to say about that. The poop deck is where we get the word pope, poopy deck. Scrubbing the deck again, because we're getting caught in the dog star, which is funny because Stardog is one of the big things of cannabis, the land of Canaan, dogs, Canaan, Arcturus, Scythian, the land of the Ark, the land of the Scythians, Arthur. So yeah, dog star. Cyrus, which is the Babylonian Cyrus that we read about. Cyrus actually allows them to go free, and they cross over where? Through the mighty Orion's belt, Orion, through the horns of Taurus, into the Lamb of God, or the Ram of God, and then up with the full armour of God, which, by the way, I completely missed the Pleiades. The Pleiades are the 7 chakras. So you come through the Pleiades, which is there. Your chakras are fully Christ lit. You're about to receive your crown, but you haven't yet. You've made your sacrifice. By the way, the name you is the name for Rachel. Rachel gave birth to Esau, and you, and the word you as in Jew, you as in you are. So you put on the full armour of God. It's an esoteric book, and you take up your seat on the throne, or before the throne, or before the house, I should say, of Cephas, which is the pearly gates. Peter. Cephas is the word Cephas, and this is the constellation Cephas here. You just get it right. And the Navi. See the Navi? It's it's connected to the film Avatar, the image of. So you sit in the image of on the throne before the cross, which is Cygnus' Fall. And how do you keep the demons away? By playing the harp. This represents America, fox. America is the winged serpent, the winged bird. So, and again, you have the struggle going to go on somewhere. There's a warrior shield and all sorts. So that's the future. But that is, it's the story of the Bible, and all the characters in the Bible are there. The bloodlines, how does this manifest today? How is this going on today? Well, the bloodlines that actually control everything are over the ark, the covenant. They've stole the covenant. They've got us under maritime law, lost at sea, somewhere down here in the beast system. We're lost at sea, where we have to stand up in the truth, because the truth is written in the canopies. Genesis 1:14 does say, I have set for you in the heavens. See, I have set for you the signs, the seasons, the sun, the moon, and stars, and they shall be times and seasons for you. So everything's in the ark of the covenant. Was there a physical ark? Yes, of course there was. All our ancestors knew the story in the heavens, and it wasn't a biblical story. It was a story that happened in the flood of Europe. And when you look at things like Doggerland and stuff like that, you know, there was land between Europa, but now the great beast of the Leviathan's in there. Everything, philosophy and history, and everything's scattered. But the ark remains, and this is why the plough, the great bear, what we've seen as a Nazi symbol, 4 times in the season, is the calendar. And everything begins there, it all happens there, in that centre portion of the sky. This is the calendar, folks. This is the ark. And this is the one who comes. So, wrestling the great serpent. It's not the great serpent, it's just, you know. But this also represents us, the Christ in us, being weighed up, judged, know who we are, you know, being born maritime, but becoming a lions, becoming a jurisdiction, a Judah. A Jew is, you know, the Lion of Judah. This is the land of, you know, Britannia. This is Britannia. We see the feminine Britannia. And this is like Scotland, the lion, and Ireland actually, Scotland, the land of Canaan, Arcturus, all of this, Ireland, and you know, even Canada, because it's the land of Canada. But the earth is broken up. But this is the pathway of salvation in the stars, as it says in Genesis 1:14. So blessings, peace. I hope this is recorded. Otherwise, I've just wasted all my time for nothing. My folks, there'll be more.